Welcome to the February 2026 Focus On program. Today we're focusing on the Mr. and Mrs. F.L. Schlagle Library or Schlagle Environmental Laboratory Library. Is that right? No, I missed it. I
You're
missed it.
close enough.
Okay. So thanks for being here, Patrice Gonzalez. She's the branch manager here for this particular environmental library. So why don't you go ahead and kick us off by introducing yourself and what that library name is actually in full.
Okay, I can do that for sure. I'm
Great, thanks.
used to saying that long name now. So, like Dan said, I'm Patrice Gonzalez, and I'm the branch manager of Mr. and Mrs. F.L. Schlagle Environmental Learning Library. Now that I've practiced so much, it just rolls off the tongue. This library is actually located inside of Wyandotte County Lake. It's right off the water. That address is 4051 West Drive, KCK 66109 if you ever want to come visit me. Yeah, and one thing Dan asked was, how'd you get into libraries? Because it's kind of weird. I'm not really, I tell kids I'm a nature librarian. How did that happen? And I actually have been in libraries for about 8 years. I've worked here almost 4. I did Peace Corps, and once I came back from Peace Corps, I got a job at KCPL, and I really enjoyed it and really enjoyed offering free resources to the community. And I knew this place as an adult. And one day I told my partner, I was like, I'm going to work there. And here I am, now the manager. So yeah, I really enjoy it.
That's awesome. It's funny how some of us fall into libraries. Some folks know it right out of high school or bachelor's and they go right for it, but there's a lot of us who I don't think necessarily saw it coming, and then there we are. um,
Yes.
so um, why don't you tell us a little bit about your community? And I already forgot to, I'm so bad about pushing slides forward, so that was our picture of Patrice. And then, yeah, tell us a little bit about your community. Sometimes we say city, but you're kind of more maybe community based.
Yeah, so Wyandotte County, I actually grew up in this community. I grew up on this lake. I went to school here. So even though it's in Kansas, it's quite urban. And even though we're in a lake, it's still very urban. This is probably a lot of times when I'm taking kids on field trips, this is the only nature they get. And they're like, oh my gosh, are there bears? That kind of stuff. So it's super urban, also very diverse. About 58 to 60% are people of color. We have quite a large Latino, Spanish-speaking population, a large Chin, Burmese immigration population. Same with Hmong. So we're I love it because we're very diverse. We're very welcoming, and we're actually one of the largest diverse counties in the United States.
Oh,
So
wow.
we have a very big immigrant population. And that's one reason I love living here is I feel very welcome, and it's just cool to have all different communities and cultures here.
So I guess now we'll kind of talk about operations. And you are a lot different than a lot of our
Yes.
guests who tend to be public libraries or school, and every once in a while an academic. So let us know what's going on. What's the how does things work? Hours, staffing, a board, those types of
Yes.
things.
It's kind of wild here. We're one of the only libraries still connected to the school district. So we are a part of Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, USD 500, and they are a Title I fund school. So we get all of our funding through them. And that's not normal nowadays. So we have the library board. We also have the board of education board. So we got a lot of different layers to get through to get things approved. But it's been really great to have that funding because we never lost any funding when there was that whole hubbub about losing funding. And then our government's very interesting too because we're Wyandotte County, but we're a united government. So that means any city within the county is a part of it. So we got Turner, Piper, a little bit of Bonner Springs. So we kind of, it's like not a normal one, which is also kind of really shows you just the diversity we have here, just like all these different representations. So we have a partnership with Parks and Rec then. That's through United Government, and so our building, it's considered, if you walk on the concrete, you walk in our building, that's library, that's school district. But once you walk off the concrete into the grasses, the grounds, that's going to be Parks and Rec. But we have such a good relationship with them. They mow our lawn, but we make sure to keep our gardens up to date, weeding. We got some outdoor things too. So we have a really good partnership in that way. They get our trash. So we have, I'm always hyping up Parks and Rec for being so kind to us. And then, yeah, let's see, anything else I was going to say? Yeah, that's about it with our connections.
Operations.
Yeah.
What
Yes,
about
operations.
when are you open and what's the staffing
Yes.
like?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
So we are open Monday through Friday, and every third Saturday. I get a lot of complaints about that. It's 9 to 5, but we predominantly offer field trips, so that's why we need to be open mainly during the school week, of course. And when we started with when we were full-time, 4 full-time people, and so I was also teaching. We're now to 6 people because it's really needed, and I can actually do the management side of this, but still we're so small, it's really hard to flex within a week to, also work Saturday. So when we are open Saturdays, we always do a big event, to make sure that it's got some good stuff happening, people coming out. And of course, we're a free library. I always have to remind the kids that, because they'll be like, whoa, they think it's kind of a zoo. And I'll be like, no, we're free, you gotta come. So almost every Saturday we're open, every third Saturday we got a big event going on, kind of thing.
That's awesome. Just more about that before we move on. I was curious about, because we don't usually talk about collections later, so I wanted to
Yeah.
know a little bit about like what's a collection like for you and how is, different than your other branches, and then also about the other branches. Could you just give us an insight about like what is your relationship with all those other typical public libraries? I know how that kind of works with the schools and the field trips.
Yeah, so we've been, let's see, so many questions. So we have a really good relationship. I always want to be more of a partnership and collaborate versus being competitive, which KCKPL, it's kind of hard because we're all kind of siloed. We're all, kind of further apart. But since we have education specialists, they can do outreach and offer, environmental education programs, things like that. So one of our specialists is a Spanish speaker, so she'll bring animals to our Spanish speaking library, which is the South Library. That's where that community is mostly. We just brought some animals to West Wyandotte for Kansas Day because we have the state reptile, the ornate box turtle. So we're always trying to be more of a collaboration versus a competition kind of thing. So there'll be times where, like if we're doing an outreach, it could be Schlagle and it could be another library, just because we offer so many different things, which does bring me into the collections. Since it's a nature library, we only have nature and science books, and anything under the sun like that. We have actually an adult collection, and it's not as large as our children, but we have some fun. You're not going to find crime novels, things like that, but you're going to find really a lot more in depth for things. Like if you wanted to know about the galaxy, we're going to have way more books on those than West Wyandotte's going to have, or things like that. Yeah.
Thanks for filling us in on that. So we talked a little bit about the physical space. Let's see. I was just going to move to this picture. Can you tell us just a little bit more about the building that you all inhabit and maybe the
Yes.
other resources that you kind of tap into there at the lake?
Yes, so our library is super small. It's basically like a one room kind of thing. It's just upstairs. But we also have a downstairs where if we have large events on Saturdays, we open it up. But we mainly do downstairs for the field trips, so when it's not public programming or when we have summer camp kind of thing. And then the upstairs actually has several animals, and I'm going to bring some out a little later. They're called education animals. They're animal ambassadors because we teach with them during our field trips. Sometimes you'll find lots of science books. We have a discovery cabinet where you can open it up and there's like animal pelts and tactile things that you can touch and discover. We have several gardens outside, and this picture is actually of me in the amphitheater. That's me with, I'm pretty sure it's a summer camp and we're doing mindfulness, but they don't know it. They're doing nature journaling kind of thing, right? This is my favorite time because they're actually being kind of calm, so that's really nice. And then I'm actually sitting right in front of a fire pit, so sometimes when it's summer camp we turn that fire pit, we get it going for the older kids kind of thing. And even though everything that's on the grass is owned by parks, we still make sure there's things for them outside. Like we have a tiny little area where you can play on a boat. It's not in the water. It's like a, people always ask me that. And then we have a little musical area, and then we do have a hiking trail that wraps around our library, and that's the one we actually take the kiddos on for their field trips as well.
Neat. How long's that loop?
It's like a quarter of a mile, but let me tell you, I can keep those kids on it for like 45 minutes and like they are entertained. But yeah, I'll tell them hiking and then I'll be like, hey, we're going to go on our trail, but it's really not that like intense of a hike.
Right. So, and we'll move on here in a second, but that just made me kind of wonder, and I don't think we have a question about it as it goes into programs and services that we'll talk about next. Did you have experience working with so many youth before you were here? Was that like a learning curve?
Yeah, so I've always worked with kids. Actually, when I started teaching swim lessons when I was 16, and every parent would tell me, you should be a teacher. And I was like, super like, no, they don't make money, all that kind of stuff. But I have a master's in education for global sustainability and then a master's in ecopsychology. So I have worked with kids most of my adult professional career. The younger, the littles was a little bit of a curve just because, they cry a lot more kind of thing. And I'm not used to that. Like for swim lessons, I had them for 30 minutes and then, they go away. But having them longer was a little bit of a curve. But one thing about teaching is I can scale up or down. Like I can teach any grade. And that's adults too. It's really, fun to do that.
Yeah. How about staff? When you bring on somebody new, are you looking for somebody who's going to be real strong with youth rather than say science? Just because that's going to be so much in what they have to encounter every day.
Yeah, all of us talk about like, if you know how to teach, like then we can teach the other stuff to you kind of thing, I didn't know all 35 different programs that we taught. I didn't take physics in high school, but now I teach it kind of thing. So we're always looking for someone with like a very good education background. They have to do like a 10-minute program and show us. So, the environmental stuff is a super big plus, but we're looking more that they can teach because we can teach them if they need. And then, yes, kids, it's a big, important one just because of, they can be overwhelming, even with just 25 at one time. So we got to make sure that you can be flexible because there's a lot of flexibility needed when you're teaching in the environment. If someone gets stung by a bee, if we got, we tell them to go to the bathroom, but they don't, and they're on the hike, so they have to be very flexible with kids.
Yeah, adds all kinds of extra variables then it sounds like. All right, well, that's a pretty good segue to these programs, and I have a few different slides on that. But you say 25 a day, but you told us, I think before we even started, is that sometimes it's 100.
Yes.
A day.
Yes, it can be for sure. We're small, so usually it's two classes coming, and that's about 50. But if they have 4 classes, we'll do morning and afternoon. So we'll do like a 9:30 to 11:30 and then 11:30 to 1:30, and we'll swap them kind of thing. So it can be up to 100 a day. And definitely during butterfly school days, it's 100 a day. But
that's
yes.
A lot of littles and names and faces to try to remember.
Yes.
And you said something about them coming back with parents and asking you, do you remember me?
Yes, we every field trip, if they're Wyandotte County specifically, we give them a bookmark, has our address, and most of the time they bring their parents back and they're like, "Oh, hi, do you remember me?" I always say yes. It's great to have them come back, and because a lot of times they're like, "Oh, we can't because it's not free," and I'm like, "Yes, it is," so come visit me kind of thing. I really enjoy to see them come back because this is considered almost a hidden secret, a hidden gem kind of thing, and that's bittersweet. So to get more people in the community coming out, because they're like, "Oh, I've fished on this lake forever, and now there's this building, so you can go fish, and then you can come cool down if you need to."
Yeah, don't want to be a secret. All right, let's talk about what happens when you're here with these programs and
Yes.
services
So
type things that you offer.
I am going to bring a friend out. Dan is already
Yeah,
aware of this, um, to segue into our programs. So this
and
is
I told Patrice
Oreo.
this is our first animal guest on this
Yes, I'm so
program.
excited. She's going to be famous. This is a California king snake. She's about 4 to 5 feet long. She's pretty long. You can tell maybe why she's called Oreo, right? She's black and white. We have most of our animals are going to be local, but we do have two that aren't local. So this is one of them. She's just really fun to bring out. But we teach a lot of classes with animals. We do like animal adaptations and habitats and, sustainability and water quality, and a lot of times the animals come up because it's all connected kind of thing, and especially if it's a rain day they might get to see an extra animal because we can't go outside for a hike. So we offer about 35 different programs between primary to secondary, and that includes archery, which is a fun special one right here. They're just playing. This is a little bit of summer camp. Let's see what else. We have StarLab. That's a big one. And StarLab's a blow-up planetarium. And so with that one, a lot of people like to come to us because we're the only free planetarium in the area. Like Ernie Miller has one, but you have to pay, and the same with Science City. So we see a lot of that, a blow-up planetarium, and kids are like, "Oh, is this a bouncy house kind of thing?" It does kind of look like one. So and then one of my other favorites is going to be the Butterfly Festival. So that's absolutely when and we even teach on Monday that day. So we'll get 500 kids that week because we grow and rear our own monarchs. And so they get to learn about monarch migration, butterfly diversity. They get to do insect inventory and microscopes. So we have 4 different classes going on at the same time. And like I said, it's small, but it's worked out every year.
I feel like I should know this. When does that happen? When are butterfly days?
Oh yes. So like I said, we're open every third Saturday of the month. So every third Saturday of September is Butterfly Festival, and then the following week is Butterfly School Day. So you can definitely come out and learn and see the butterflies on our Butterfly Festival, and then Butterfly School Days is the following week. And hopefully we have some monarchs to release that day.
And I've heard people talk about monarch tagging. Is that
We
something
do
that
do
happens
that.
there as well? Okay.
Yes, and they give you a certificate if the butterfly makes it in that area in Mexico. We have not gotten one in a really long time, but it's happened before.
Yeah. I was just curious what these tykes were doing here on the left of this picture that I have up right now. It looks
Let
like
me
they're doing
see.
some sort of
Oh,
archaeology
we're
dig.
doing, yeah, they're doing fossils. So they're uncovering their own fossils. We also have like rocks. Um, I don't know if you know this, but Kansas used to be under shallow ocean. So we even
Hmm.
have rocks around the library that have fossils in them, like crinoids and sea lilies and stuff. So they'll get to do this, and then they'll get to go outside and search for fossils too. So
Neat.
almost every, except of course archery, because we need a controlled environment, and StarLab, almost every program has an outdoor component.
Neat. So with this summer reading theme, are the other branches thinking of bringing you in, or does this just seem like
Oh
right up your
yeah,
alley this year's
absolutely.
theme?
The Metro actually decided, because I was like so sad. I'm like, they wanted to do all about the soccer, the cup. And we were like,
Hmm.
but it's dinos this year. Like, we
Yeah.
can't not do dinos. We have so many fossils you can utilize from us. So they decided to make their own thing called Read, Score, Roar. So we have both in it. So
I
yes,
like
we're
it.
trying to work together. But even like one of the libraries west, they really want to do, even though it's later on, but they want to do Hunger Games style stuff because the Hunger Games movie's coming out.
Oh,
So
okay.
might do archery or addle. So yeah, we're always trying to work on those themes. And
Yeah. A lot to work with there. Just
yes.
got to be creative on top of it. Anything else about programs or services? We've hit
The
collections.
great thing about us is all our programs are free. I did not say that, I don't think. And then if you're a Wyandotte County school, you can get $100 bus stipend from us.
Oh,
So your
wow.
school almost is completely free if you come. So yeah, and we're free to
Very.
all people. Like we've taught kids from Pittsburgh, Kansas, Everest, Kansas, Independence. So we're free to everybody.
Awesome. Shout out to Everest. That's one of our smaller libraries in the Northeast region.
Yes, I love them. They're so cute.
Barnes Reading Room.
Do
Okay,
you
well,
do
let's talk a little bit about partnerships that you have.
Okay, I do have a question, Dan. It said, do you do school
Oh,
outreach? Yes. And because we have enough people, we can do more school outreach. And I'll do like career jumping where I talk to middle schoolers, and I'll usually bring an animal about my career. We'll bring animal pelts and skulls, things like that they can touch and be like, this is where we're located. So, yes, we get a lot of outreach requests, especially in the spring when it's, Earth Month is coming up and all that kind of stuff.
hmm. Thanks for catching that in the chat, and thanks for asking that question, Brian. I know he's in
Yes.
Atchison, so not too terribly far, so he's probably
Yes,
got
yes.
ideas. Do you do much? Do you have questions for people, or do you get requests to do online webinar type things, or is it pretty much in person at the school or at the library?
I've done several onlines. There's this organization called Prep KC, and they can help hook you up with different places to teach. So one time I did a online virtual program, and it was only 30 minutes, and it was for the entire metro, and 600 kids showed up. And so usually I leave about 5 minutes for questions. We went over another 30 minutes because everybody had questions. So, yes, I love doing virtuals because, again, that reaches those teachers that don't know about us. I'll be like, shout out to you guys, but come visit us in person. And so I'll have teachers reach out afterwards because I'm sure their kids are probably begging for them to come, kind of thing. So, yes, they're not as often, but definitely always willing to do them.
Yeah, so let's, as we come into the final stretch, let's talk about partnerships you have now. What works? What do you depend on?
We did depend on a lot. I'm going to put her away. She's really wiggly.
Okay.
We depend on a lot of partnerships. One, Parks and Rec. We could not be here without them. We wouldn't be here without the United Government. Of course, the school is who we're under, so that's more than a partner. And then there's Board of Public Utilities. That is also through the UG. It's like our electricity. So they do every third Saturday of January. They fund an Eagle Days for us. So we had our last Eagle Days was the third Saturday of January. We had 1,800 people. So Operation Wildlife, who's located in Linwood, will come and bring different birds of prey. We'll have a bald eagle here. We'll have birds across the lake because we are so small. We needed two buildings to house all these birds. So shout out to BPU for paying for all of that. And then the Butterfly Festival actually is also kind of like that. It's called the Lawson Roberts Butterfly Festival, and that's because that gentleman, that family, the Roberts family, actually pays for that too. And that's been going on over 20 years. Both of them have been going on over 20 years. Then we need a lot of help on the outside. You'll check if you notice. I have this guy with the chainsaw, they got rid of all the bush honeysuckle because we do our own gardening, we do our own weeding, and it's a lot of work. So we could always use more volunteers that way. We have a huge volunteer group, and they're loyal and helpful, and it's crazy the amount of kid volunteers we have that show up and are like early and willing to. I've never had that before. Like, I'll have a lot of kids from summer camp age out and then want to come help with summer camp. So we could not do any of that stuff without those volunteers. And then at the bottom left, there's even a cute little volunteer. She brought alpacas one time because she actually needed some hours because she was like a scout. So we get a lot of Eagle Scouts who come out and want to do stuff too. Like, that amphitheater actually was an Eagle Scout thing that they did several years ago, kind of thing. So without all of our partners and volunteers, it would be really impossible to do anything outside of the building. So we're super grateful for all of that.
Yeah. Um, that leads me to ask, is there a way that people could look into volunteering if they're in
Y-
the area? Is there a place on your
yes.
website they can sign up, or how's that work?
Yes, you can always reach out to me, and I can type my email in the chat. It's pgonzalez@kckpl.org. You can also go online and find my information there too. It's on the website somewhere where all the managers are listed. But we have a lot of people who want to help with like animal care, and we need that because we don't always have the time to give them the animal enrichment that they deserve. They shouldn't just be in a tank. They should be able to walk and, and have some decisions. So sometimes if you come and there's no one here, you might see a turtle out. So we have that. We've got needs for outdoor gardening, of course. And some people water the plants inside. And always we have the library aspect. We always could use help with spot shelf reading. So there are lots of opportunities.
That's great. And I didn't really think about that, but with you having not being open every day, I assume the animals still need attention every day. Is that
Ooh, that's
right?
a good question. Actually, thankfully, because we only have reptiles and amphibians, they do okay. So, but
Okay.
there are times where they go to the vet and they're staying home with me that day.
I
I've
bet.
had that happen a lot, and so we are closed for winter. So that's the only way this works is if we only have amphibians and reptiles. If we had mammals, you're absolutely right. They need that socialization and love every day.
Yeah.
So we also have a tarantula, so she doesn't need that either. So that's the only
Gotcha.
way it works. And even like for winter break, we're off for like about 2 weeks, but I come in because I have to, take care of them, kind of thing. I,
Hmm.
I don't let them go more than a couple days. But like, we
Gotcha.
had a long weekend this week, so we just loaded them up on the water, all that kind of stuff, and so they're okay today.
Yeah. So you closed right around with the holidays, end of December, is that right? For a
Yes,
couple
we
weeks?
follow the winter break, the KCKPS winter break. We
Okay,
follow that,
cool.
yes. And we're actually the only library in our system that follows that. The
Oh,
rest
okay.
get like flex days, comp days. It's just kind of really impossible to do that with us.
Yeah. Well, as we finish up, we do this program in partnership with Kansas Library Association. And I think you said that the library works, or you have some experience with KLA, but or any other professional
Yes.
memberships. What do you participate in? What do you get out of it?
Yes. So one, Love Neckles. Thanks to Dan, who got me my mindfulness in nature forest bathing grant. I went to KLA. I learned so much. We're part of KLA. We're actually a part of Reforma because we have an education
Hmm.
specialist who gets paid because she more the differential because she does speak Spanish. But of course, most of our things we're involved in is going to be like naturey, right? So we have NAI, National Association for Interpreters, KC, Kansas Association for Conservation and Environmental Education. So we're in a lot of those spaces as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, this has been so fun getting to talk to you. Folks, if you didn't know, Patrice reached out to me to ask me to be on the program, and I have been asking people for years, please reach out to me if you want to be on the program. And she was one of the first to do it. So thank you so much to her for coming on and talking about this special library. I know I really want to visit and say hi in person
Yes.
sometime. And
Please
I,
come.
yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and end it, guys. You all have a great day. Enjoy this fake spring, I
I know.
guess. All
Yes.
right. We'll see you all later. Take care.
Yes. Thank
Thanks,
you. Bye,
Patrice.
everybody.